Hi creative friends. So today is going to be my second almost live stream attempt. I'm going to draw Wren here, sketch her from life. I 2 episodes ago did my other dog puzzle, so if you didn't see that episode, that was my first sketch. And so today I'm going to do my other dog, Wren. That last episode, as I mentioned, was kind of the finish, finally, of Inktober 2024, the art challenge to draw in ink. So if I did puzzle, I've got to do Wren here also. And so this will be like a bonus finale to Inktober, my 30-second ink drawing. So want to repeat the tips that I mentioned in that other video if you are interested in drawing your own dog or cat, other pet, if you would like to draw your own dog from life. So the first tip is to sketch them while they're sleeping. As I mentioned, if you have like your sketchbook and your pencils or whatever close at hand, like say on the couch where your dog maybe gets up there and naps while you're watching TV, well, that's a really easy opportunity to quick get your sketchbook and sketch them while they're sleeping, because they're going to be still, at least for a while. So to draw them from life while they are awake like this, one thing you can do is set up a grooming. I'm just using an old grooming table. And so if you can rig up something similar to that, that will work. And if you've got a dog that's like used to going to the groomer, I mean, that's going to be, you know, easy peasy for them. They know what a grooming table is and aren't going to be wigged out by it. Another option would be like some sort of workbench, and if you can rig up something like a grooming arm that, you know, keeps them from moving around too much or trying to hop off the table, you could do that, rig up something to keep them. Another is to, if there's a family member or friend who can just, you know, hold the dog and then maybe also, you know, get its attention with a cookie. Yeah? Oops. Lost my notes. What else? So I think that was it. So I apologize that last video, the lighting when I looked at it later was not great. Sorry about that. So today I'm trying it with the blinds open, moved my lamps a little bit. Puzzle, you just stay there. And so hopefully this is a little bit better as far as seeing what I'm doing, and then I'll also try and get the sketch pad where you can see better what I'm doing. And so that last episode where I did an almost live stream, I was just drawing from life straight off with a pen, which I like to do just because it's a challenge to work in pen right off the bat. Today I'm going to take it a little bit easier, and I am going to use a pencil to start to sketch with. Obviously pencil way more forgiving than working straight off in ink. And of course everybody's going to, you know, you're going to have your own preference on what you want to sketch with. Pencil, colored pencil, charcoal, ink. I've always loved pen and ink, especially old-fashioned dip pen, you know, a nib that you dip into ink has always been my favorite. And so, however, that takes a long time because for sketching from life, because the nibs have such a fine point. So what I do for a lot of my Inktober drawings is, I mean, sometimes I just use Sharpies, fine tip Sharpie. But for today, I've got some brush pens. which are an ink pen that has a flexible tip. So they're a little bit more expressive. But again, going to start with a pencil sketch, and I hope that I hold this so that you can see it better this time. And Wren, hello. Going to try to, okay, I was thinking that I would get her, sketch her looking at me, which she may or may not want to do. So this is where that previous tip, like I said, if you can get somebody to help getting their attention and or holding them on the table. Okay, this is what I was thinking, I was hoping that she would do. So again, hopefully what I'm going to do here is hold this so that you can see better what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with the top of her head. Wren. And so your dog, when you sketch it, of course, is going to have different features. If you have a, like a shepherd mix, any kind of breed that has upright ears, you have to start with remembering that you need room for the ears. Of course, with spaniels, a lot of drop-eared breeds, the ears don't do much but hang there. I mean, they can kind of raise them up and down, but it's nothing like how expressive like a shepherd or Pomeranian or, Corgi, all those breeds that have the upright ears. There you go, then that's what I want. Okay, so got kind of her skull and top of her head. She will. And then I'm looking next, her ears. The ear set is coming off the side of her head, somewhat like that. Okay. And her eyes. Okay, so I hope you can still see this. It's just going to be easier to stand where she will look at me. And so I'm looking at the way she's holding it right now. The inner corner of her eye is slightly, are you going to be even worse than Puzzle was as far as staying still? So the way they will hold their head affects how their features look. And just for example, if she holds her head up with her nose more up, the inner corner of her eye is higher than the outer corner. And if she drops her nose down, that totally changes, and now the inner corner of the eye is lower. So what I'm doing is and she always catches her, I'm gonna poke you, catches her lip on her tooth there. So sometimes you just have to decide what position you want them in, and then you might have to move yourself around. This is if they're awake. Obviously, this is why when they're sleeping is so much easier. Wren, could you, okay, I think I want to try and get it to where she is just kind of neutral, not really looking up, not really looking down. She has, as you can see, a very wide blaze. If you've got a dog that has markings of some kind, whether it's a spaniel or other breed that has a blaze and white around their muzzle, or it's something that has like a shepherd, they're going to have well, depending on what color it is, you know, a mask of dark. Okay, get your lips out of your teeth there. Can you stay like that? Can you stay like that? And then again, her nose placement is going to depend on whether she's lifting it, you know, kind of has it where her head is level, or if she puts it down. That all changes where the nose is in the sketch. So in this case, I'm going to have to move myself around since she is not going to be particularly still. And then now I'm looking the outside of the nose. The outside of the nose is just a little bit inside the corners of the eye, or actually just right down below it. She has, I think, kind of a smallish, compared to Puzzle especially, smallish nose and muzzle, much more girlish. I mean, she's a girl, and so she definitely does have a more girlish head. And like where his muzzle is quite a bit deeper, you know, hers is like, starts almost like right under her nose. Wren, never mind. Puzzle, he's over there. I think he's over there very glad that it's her turn today and he just gets to lay around. And so where he has a deeper muzzle, hers is much more fine and dainty. Okay, and then corner of her mouth is kind of under, you know, where the outside of her eye is. She's got a dark little lip there, rainy panty, and chin under there. Can you look at me? Okay. Thing I've noticed is that they are definitely thinning down in their face compared to when they were younger. As I mentioned in the last video, I'm pretty sure they're 12, and actually going to be 13 in August. I think I mentioned the wrong date last time. But anyway, coming up on 13, and so she's got just thinning, starting to thin around like above that eye socket area. I think more so than what he's doing. And so I want to get that. You may have noticed if, you know, those of you who've had dogs live to a really ripe old age, sometimes towards the end of their lives, they can get that really sunken look to their face, sort of like a horse can do. Wren, pay no attention to Puzzle over there, please. All right, I'm just going to come over here where it's easier to get the angle on her that I want. Hi, Puzzle. You've been out. I specifically took them out so they could have a potty break and hopefully be less, she would hopefully be less fidgety Not sure how much good that is. Okay, come here, Brittany. Can you look? Can you look? Okay, she shows some of the white, the sclera, at the corner of her eye there. Actually, well, yeah, both of them, just slightly. So you want to mark that. Puzzle, you were out. I can't believe, I do not believe that you actually want on the table. You just want attention. Okay, now I'm going to try and get some of her markings. And then the way that she's sitting there, the light coming more from this side is putting in her blaze there, the area between her eyes, there's some shadowing. Come on, let me get some of your spots here. Wren. Okay, I got that big one. And I can't see because it's so dark and backlit and you have to sit this way. All right. Just mainly that one big spot. Let me get some of these others. She's got one down here. Okay, so good enough for now. A basic pencil sketch, which I said is easier than trying to sketch this in pen. Okay, if I remember right, this is a really dark pen. Come on, Wren, turn this way. Can you turn this way? Okay, so I want to get in the really dark areas. So like on the inside, the side of her face where the ear is putting a lot of shadow right there. Can you look this way? Can you look this way? Thank you. Okay, so that is just in the dark. And then on this side, can you look this way? Wren. Okay. On this side, again, I'm gonna just get in these darker areas. Whoops. Okay, so for me, this is really backlit, so not getting a whole lot of detail. But the light coming from this side makes this side more shadowed. Wren, could you look this way, please? Okay, and then a little bit, I don't know whether it shows, but the edge of her ear there isn't quite as shadowed. And so, you know, I'm going to leave a lighter area there to show, that helps, you know, just indicate the shadowed areas, that are the areas that are more shadowed, and then what is catching a little bit of light, and then what is, because that just indicates the form and the highlights. Okay. And then, so the eye that's on the shadow side isn't getting as much highlight. It is going to be darker than the one that's on the light side where I'm getting more reflection. So specifically, she's got kind of a highlight line where reflecting the window, and then kind of a little dot, and then on the other side of the iris, I don't know if that's off her muzzle, probably a little bit of a light area on this side of the iris. The eyes is worth slowing down and looking closely at the shape, the reflections. You know, do they have any sclera, you know, or the lighter membrane in the corner of the eye, does that show? Because those are the sort of things that the likeness of the dog comes out and looks like them. Oh, you're not good. Come on, don't be so lazy. All right. And I guess one thing to mention is I am not going to even attempt to get her whiskers in there. That is just way too much work, and for just a quick sketch from life. But I do see them. Yeah, I see those whiskers. Now a cat, if you're sketching a cat, I do sometimes do cats, not that often. I'll admit, not that much of a cat person. I was super allergic as a kid. But anyway, on cats, you know, like the whiskers, I think you got to do them because they're so much more part of a cat, both the eyebrow whiskers and then the mouth whiskers, the muzzle whiskers. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna, before this gets too long, just kind of go the basic shapes here of Wren. You can just sit there. Okay. And really, I think I mentioned, like with ears, if you have a shepherd, pom, corgi, or especially like a papillon, anything with ears up, I would say, you know, go ahead and take more time with the ears, because that's where so much of their expression comes from. But with a spaniel, they just kind of hang there, and they don't do a whole lot. I mean, they lift them up and down, but that's about it. Okay, so with the nose, another area that I try and get the highlights, the shape. There you go, good girl. Wren, Wren. Thank you. Okay, now the lighting is not really helping, but compared to the video that I did of puzzle, I've got more highlights here on the nose, so that is helping. I think I'm going to change pens here. If I remember right, this one has a little bit finer tip, yeah. So I want to get the highlight around the nose. So definitely have a lighter patch on the nose here, and then around the rim of the nostril here. So I want to try and put that in there, since that is what gives the nose its shape. And then on the other side, so it's her right, the right side of her nose, or the left as we're looking at it, it's not nearly as defined. There's a little bit of highlight. I can't think of what the name is, that separation that they have at the front of their nose between the nostrils. But so I'm trying to fill this in somewhat, but not totally filled in. And so got the highlight on that side of the nose and on this rim of the nostril where the light is catching. And on this other side, I want it to be very slight. You know, that there is, it's not totally black, but I want to make that area that's catching some light much more subtle than on this side. Hope that makes sense. Okay, ready. And then I'm going to start just filling in just some hatching, which is the straight lines more or less in the direction of hair growth. So it's areas that are a grayish tone, a darker, but not as filled in as the really shadow areas. And kind of show the highlight she has there on the ear. And again, I'm not going to pay a whole lot of attention to the ears. Just to me, Spain, they don't do a lot. Okay, so Wren, come on, up. You're being lazy. You're being lazy. Okay. All right, let me try and click her little lip area under the, has quite a bit of pigment. And then at this point, I'm thinking, she's getting tired, so I don't want to take too much longer. Try and get in some of these spots. She's got this stain on her lip where she always is catching it on her teeth. Okay, so I'm now going to change to this pen that, if I remember right, this one is, kind of was losing ink. Okay, if I go very light, yeah, this one is kind of, so if I do a very light touch with this pen that is losing ink, I can kind of get a gray out of it. Or not. To show light areas, areas where her coat is white, and so I want to darken it up a little bit, but kind of get a gray effect. So I'm doing, again, this pen that has doesn't have the ink that it once did, and so I'm kind of getting a cheating, sort of getting a light gray effect out of it. And I'm going to try and get this on this whole side of her muzzle because it's shadowed. So actually I might as well go ahead and totally cheat here because it's giving me a nice gray tone. So I guess the motto of this is don't throw away your old ink pens, especially these brush pens, as they start to lose ink, because you can still get use out of them. Now, if doing this with the old-fashioned dip pens, you can't do this. It's just laboriously stippling, which is the dots, stippling and hatching and cross-hatching some more, and cross-hatching some more, which I actually enjoy doing. It can be very meditative, might be the word. It's slow going, but it when you put the time into it and get the effect that you want of creating gray out of with black dots and lines, it's just very satisfying when you're done with it and you've put in that work. Okay, and then pretty penny. A little bit more there. All right, so you've actually got a little bit of shading there where you're, oops, there we go. Now it decides to do the ink on me. Okay, I might get one more pen. What did I do? This one? Nope, that's not it. Okay, I'm not sure where I put it. I do have, oh, there it is. I do have a very fine tip brush pen. You can see how fine that is. And so if you will just be still here, I would like to put just a little bit more fine details ready. Okay. So, one thing I forgot to mention last episode, I don't know whether anybody is interested, but for my sketchbooks, this one is a Strathmore sketch. So, what's the other brand that I use? I'm drawing a blank. Canson, mixed media and drawing. Now, mixed media is nice because it would hold up to if you wanted to put a little watercolor and stuff. But anyway, Strathmore sketch is what this one is. And just various pens. This one is a sign pen, brush pen. These are so old, I don't know that the brands are even on there anymore. Well, that one's in, I think that's probably Japanese. I'm half Japanese, but I don't read it and only speak maybe a few what I assume are cuss words from what they were, was yelled to us as kids. I think bakatari, that was one, which I think basically is like, you damn kids, knock it off, something like that. So I don't know what brand that one is. I assume that's Japanese. Sakura, maybe? Maybe Sakura. Oh, sorry. The names are not on here. Okay, this one is Japan. It is Japan. Anyway, I think Sakura is one of the brands. Tombow, I think, is another one. But can be found on at Michael's. An online supplier I like is Blick, B-L-I-C-K, art supply. If you don't happen to have a Michael's near you, one of these days, I hope it's still there, there was a large Blick art supply store in Seattle that I've gone to. Well, it's been a few years, but anyway, they have online supplies, and so if you're interested in doing pen and ink work with a brush pen. Okay. Are you done, Wren? I think you're probably done with this, right? Okay. This one's also very much getting out of ink. So here we have my sketch from life. And how did I do puzzles? Puzzle. Okay. So this is Wren. And I'm gonna call this a late Inktober 2024. And this is drawing number 32. So just a little bonus to finish up Inktober 2024. Today is the 13th. And sign it. So there we go. So hope you enjoyed that. And I will try more of these almost live streams. Again, not sure when and if I am going to have the equipment to do an actual live stream. I think I'm might have to get a digital camera or GoPro or something like that. But almost live here, since there's not going to be any editing of this. I'm just going to upload it, and that'll be it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next episode. Bye.